So friends, this is something out of the way. Today we are discussing technology in medicine. But you will agree that technology is everywhere and technology is all about people. I have a great mentor in API and ICP. Next, please. Vinod, I'm
Sir,
not in a position to navigate the slides.
1 second, sir.
I'm not in a position to navigate the slides. Or
Sir, you could share the screen yourself, and then only you have control.
okay.
There's
Now am I visible? Now the screen is visible. My screen is visible to you.
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir. Sir, on the next of the chat, there is a share screen.
Okay.
Next to the chat.
Or sir, at the bottom, sir, share screen, something in green, green with the arrow up.
Okay.
You just press
Just
that
a
and
minute.
you will be shared. You will be seen.
Yeah. So you are seeing now?
It's coming. Yes, sir.
You are seeing
Yes,
the
sir.
scene?
Yes.
So welcome for this unusual meeting in the COVID era. Our senior colleague and the governor of American College of Physician India chapter, Dr. Muruganathan, has been really very, very instrumental in organizing this whole symposium. Not only the past president of API, past dean of Indian College of Physicians, he's a fantastic Rotarian. Friends, he's a magician with words. I have seen him mesmerizing crowd of almost 15 to 20,000 in weeks functions. He was the organizer of APCON in Coimbatore. But on top of it, a fantastic human being, a friend, philosopher, guide, who has been very instrumental. I request Dr. Muruganathan to take over the proceedings and start the function. Dr. Muruganathan, please.
Thank you, Dr. Kulkarni. I think it is wonderful to be with you. For the last 3 weeks, I had been discussing with Dr. Kulkarni. One day we must organize one webinar on technology, because we cannot be without technology now, especially in the COVID times. All of us are tuned to technology. Even the government has got Arokya Setu. We are very happy. Even before they did anything, they did the app, mobile app, and that gives you a good clue about the contact list. Same way, all the doctors, everyday practice, if they don't know how to use the technology, they will be at loss. And especially in COVID times, the telemedicine, teleconsultation, all that are very, very important. So Kulkarni was asking whether we can have one webinar. I said it's a must. And so many people requested me to have this webinar. Today, we've got 3 eminent speakers on technology. The basics, Dr. S.V. Kulkarni himself will take the lecture. Then the evaluation of strategy by equipments by Dr. Suresh Nindra. So I'm sure all the participants after this webinar, they will have definitely first-hand information as how one should use the technology in medicine. Even the prescription, even the diagnosis, so many things have come. The artificial intelligence has come in a big way, and this digital technology also has come in a big way. So I think the physician, I call them nowadays as electronic physician. Not only you learn medicine by books, electronically you also should learn. And the electronic physician is one who will handle all the technology under his chamber. Friends, without wasting much time, in the COVID times, how we can identify COVID patients, how we diagnose COVID patients, even without go near him. And recently, one of our ACP members, Sabida, has developed one artificial intelligence. In the chest X-ray, if you give chest X-ray in 20 seconds, they'll give it is COVID or not. So first speaker is Dr. S.V. Kulkarni. He's the Diabetes Heart Child Care Center, Navi Mumbai. He's a consulting physician since '83, and he's ex-faculty, Miraj Medical College, Miraj. Faculty MBA Healthcare. He was the organizing secretary of Epicon 2007, Goa. Nobody will forget that conference. Faculty member, ICP, editorial board member, JOPI. Areas of interest, computers, smartphone technology, presentation techniques, and soft skills. And MapCon 2019 and API Navi Mumbai organizing secretary. And more than that, he's a very good friend. He's got so much of connections. I think he's loved by all his colleagues. A very lovable character, always with smile. And regarding the ACP, he's the one who has attended many ACP conferences along with me, annual conference. So I'm very proud to introduce Kulkarni to deliver his talk on basics of technology. Over to Kulkarni.
Thank you, Dr. Purignatham. Friends, I bring you greetings from this beautiful city, Navi Mumbai. It is in the news for some different reason also. And technology and smartphones are there all around us. They are part of our life. They are part of the lockdown. You cannot go away from it. Any age, pediatrics to geriatrics, everybody needs a smartphone. But judicious and mindful use definitely will help the medical professionals to handle this present situation. But at the same time, it is not a rocket science. It is something very simple, very basic. This is about my disclosures. They don't have any conflict of interest in any product, not on advisory board or partner to share, not on consulting team of any software or mobile manufacturer. I have not received any remuneration for endorsing the product or services discussed. They are just as a prototype. But at the same time, I must appreciate help of Risha Pharma, ACP India chapter, and a century now. People ask me just one question: why you have prepared this presentation? Indian medical scenario is changing rapidly. And in the COVID-19 era, it has got more significance. Technology are developing very fast or with more pace. Internet connectivity is getting faster and cheaper. And if you look at all our aspects of life, healthcare is the least used in the modern technology. So it is our aim to introduce, encourage, and establish techno-savviness in doctor. Maybe the next generation will be benefited or they may teach us. Why we need technology? There are many big advantages. It is very quick, data sorting done fast, repetitive jobs are faster. I have got a patient who has got 25 medications. With one click, I can copy paste those prescription. And there is a minimal learning curve for getting of the techniques. It can give empowerment to your staff. It is systematic. You can have own rules for work. And in the leisure time, you can learn on your own. You don't require to go to a WhatsApp training school. And the opportunities are there to learn from the generation X and future. The world is yours. You go to your smartphone and type medical applications. You will get innumerable numbers. So you have to decide what is the particular use you want to do. So if you want to do a solo single use app, there are certain calculators like BMI, lab values, IV drug calculator, and CPR videos or core medical journal. My colleague, Dr. Sagar, is going to go into detail, but I will suggest you to download one app for calculating eGFR. Because eGFR is one thing which is not normally considered in our day-to-day practice, but it is going to be a very good idea for all of us to adjust the drug doses. But at the same time, there are certain bundled medical applications. What are they? I'm going to discuss with two baseline applications called as the Medscape and UpToDate. Hippocrates is similar to them. There is one Indian version called as eSanjeevani, but it has got lot of teething problems right now. Now friends, from how to buy, use and recommend app. I will tell you only one very simple thing. Don't use any free app, purchase it. See who has created it, who is the person, what is the CV of that person, center, location, institute, credibility, past track, whether the person is really creative and competent, whether the app is clutter free, whether does it communicate to other apps. Just to give an example, I have got an electronic health record which I was using for last 10 years and then switched to other one. But it was not possible for me to switch my data to other. This is called as a machine-to-machine talk. There are three types of communications in electronics. One is called as a man-to-machine talk. Second is machine-to-machine talk. And the third is machine-to-man talk. So the two programs or two machines must come to communicate with each other. And you have to see how many people have consumed it, how many users are there, criticized by how many people, reviews which are for and against, and whether they have been corrected or not. For your frontline staff, it is a boon. It can reduce their job very easy. You can calculate BMI, reminders of their machine, whether medications, epidemiological data can be done. We can create Indian evidence. But please, my request, you keep electronic record in any format, but do keep it. How to organize your patient database? In this COVID era, what we can do is we can prepare a broadcast list and decide the groups by convenience, language, and skills of e-knowledge. And you can forward one thing of your day-to-day work or exercise clip or diet clip within one click. You have to prepare a COVID-19 checklist in one A4 size paper. I think Sagar may be in a position to show it. And do not miss any point in history, examination, investigations, especially the travel history and the type of people with which he has come in contact. It is a must for all. Better data is a way to research, presentation, and publications where we Indians lack very significantly. Now everybody is talking about telemedicine and the prescription and the audio calls and video calls. Please remember that our guidelines are mainly for the COVID era, and there are a lot of issues which are associated with. If you see one article that is an editorial in Medscape, it says that telemedicine boosting definitely healthcare access, but it is not a panacea. We need it. There are too many options. Learning process is difficult. The assistant needs training. And you will come across a lot of organizations who will tell that we are giving you this free app or free software where you can keep the record. It is there. Please remember that there is nothing free. There is no free lunch in the world, even for doctors. So what you can do is you buy a purchased one and something which is really rugged and robust. How you start? You can start from simple to complex. You better start with an Excel sheet, have your own vertical and horizontal formats. You can choose the parameters. Suppose if you want to track the person by his HbA1c, you can select and get a graph. The prescription can be detached. You can identify the data and the patient, and you can track using the search criteria and see that whatever you do, a simple Excel can be integrated into the whole entire health information system platform. This is what we use it. The name of this app is called as One Glance. It is very nice, and it is very initially there are some teething troubles, but then after you have printed prescriptions, there is a regional language option, and the patient videos and the graphs, they help the patient to have a compliance with the doctor. Now somebody who is coming with the risk of cardiovascular disorders. So you have got a simple calculator like this called as the ASCVD risk calculator. Now how many things you want to download? Then you should go for something called as a Medscape. I'm going to discuss only Medscape and UpToDate in brief. Medscape has got so many things with it, right from drugs to disease conditions and procedures. You don't need a senior person. You can go to the procedures and you can perform a pleural tapping or ascitic tapping very easily. There are a lot of interactive diagnostic procedures, and you can go to the research section of it by Medline. I give a simple example. I had a patient who was on anti-tubercular drug and she developed convulsions. When we started her on phenytoin, just interactions were checked that there is the interaction and there is a monitoring closely is advised because it can, rifampicin will decrease the level or effect of phenytoin by affecting the hepatic enzymes. So interaction is possible. You have to monitor slowly and you have to adjust the dose. In the COVID era, Medscape has got huge things to offer for all of us. You can just click on it and you will get a lot of information. This is the opening page of Medscape. Suppose if you have got some subscription of up to date or even for free, you can get all the information about COVID-19 from up to date. You can see the number of languages in which they have given. They have got a information or the patient handover booklet even in Punjabi also. And these are the various topics which are practically updated every day, and it is very nice way of managing our patient utilizing all these guidelines. Learning you can do at any age and stage for medical education and your continuous professional development. Nobody would have thought of this kind of e-webinars and virtual conferences, but later on you will get something called as an augmented and mixed reality conference. Means you will have a feeling that you are sitting in a hall of 10,000 people and attending the conference with all other people. Prognosis is one app which has got various divisions like infectious diseases, diabetes, respiratory, and rheumatology, emergency medicine. You can pick up the cases and you can start learning on your own. So even though you are not attending any patients, you are not going to your college, you can update your clinical knowledge. This is the point of very importance that you can give this health identity card to your patient. With that, you can adjust, you can let the other doctor know what are the drug interactions and what are the current medications he is on. It can be part of his screensaver on his smartphone. Google Maps are very important in the time of crisis, especially when in Mumbai and Pune there are a lot of lockdowns. If you want to reach at a particular place with the help of ambulance and other emergency vehicle, people must use Google Maps very judiciously, and it is one very important tool that is forgotten by all of us. This is something which I got from Israel. This is a nanometer shaped electrode which creates a unique surface properties, and this antiseptic is 100 times more effective than bleach. It doesn't burn or dry your skin. So it is useful for surfaces, appliances, beds, anything which is used in patient care. And this is going to be a new type of disinfectants which is going to be eco-friendly. There is a lot of patients, they come and tell us that they are getting bored because of the lockdown. But you can have a very mindful use of technology in lockdown. You can improve your bonding, communication by decent jokes, puzzles, song sequence, and karaoke. You can improve your talent, practice your presentation skills with the help of Zoom meetings like this. You can avoid boredom by learning new skills, net banking, photo, video, graphics editing. There is a National Library of India is open for everybody. You can improve your writing skills, health education posters, slides about prevention. And while using this technology, either in form of laptop, desktop, or smartphones, you must protect your eyes, spine, fingers, as well as joint, because anything which is used in excess is going to be a big problem. What is the point of fitness, sleep, and exercise? Everybody next to a smartphone has got a smartwatch. To use a smartwatch, sync it with your phone, monitor the steps, calories, distance, duration, parameters of your body function. Even if you monitor sleep, oxygen desaturation, it is a clue for obstructive sleep apnea. And I remember one of my very intelligent type 1 patient, she used to say that when the tachycardia, the heart rate used to go above 90 or 100, she used to feel the sense of hypoglycemia. So indirectly, a tachycardia was a meter for her to identify hypoglycemia and correct it. So this is the way in which our all smart patients also definitely teach us. So friends, there are a lot many things which can be said and done. Before I close this smart chapter, what I conclude is opportunities are endless. It's up to us how to take and use it. Do not get lost in the maze of apps or trapped in the cobwebs of internet. Aim at what you want, but at the same time, respect your patients, their relatives, teachers, and experience. I'm very fortunate to have Dr. Kakarani here and so many seniors. Dr. Muruganathan has been a teacher for all of us, and you have to really respect them. I cannot forget Dr. S.V. Sortu and Dr. Sanpur. What he used to tell, that technology is changing, advances are welcome, but your human touch, rational thinking, clinical acumen, and empathy are non-technical and definitely win always. We have to combine wisely. At this juncture, I cannot forget one more senior teacher of teachers, a versatile personality from India, Dr. R.D. Lele, who has written a book on computers in medicine 25 years back. You can imagine how visionary he was. This is my great driving force, unconditioned love and affection and effort, support about this mad subject of technology medicine. And I cannot forget my alma mater, my roots, and that is my Mirrors Medical College 1974 batch. A continuous appreciation and support from all the 96 living members of my batch. Thank you, 1974 MMC. And friends, you will agree that it is not the machine, but the man behind the machine. It definitely matters. And it is your enthusiasm, how you embrace the technology. It makes a lot of change in your personality, in your practice, and in the future of healthcare management of the country. So you please use your peripheral, rechargeable, expandable, portable, handheld brain. With this note, I hand over my mic to the generation next, and I request Dr. Muruganathan to have his comments or any questions.
Dr. Kulkarni,
Yes.
there has been a lot of questions pouring in. You are
Yes.
planning to take all of them at the end, or how is the format?
Sir, how we should do? We'll take at the end. You can have one or two comments, and then we next shift to Sagar.
Okay, so those who have the comments, please unmute and go ahead, because we are going on Facebook Live, another 2,000 viewers across, and there is also on the YouTube Live going on, and it's being recorded HD. So I request to unmute and ask your questions, and panel to please answer. This is voice sensitive windows, and I only make the speaker window open. Any comments or questions, please?
Dr. Muruganathan, please. Dr. Muruganathan. Can you unmute Dr. Muruganathan's mic?
Yeah, just one second.
Yes. Dr. Kulkarni, it was a very good presentation on the basics. Many people would have learned, all the basics from your presentation. One thing about the virtual conference is going to be the order of the day in future, because many conferences, happening in other countries virtually, even India, because another 6 months, people will be reluctant to move. So I think we will try and first do a virtual conference, ACP virtual conference soon.
Yes.
And we can even make sure all the virtual conference people who are at the home will get food also by delivery, because we have got the technology. We can request Mumbai people to give food to Mumbaikars, Chennai people from Chennai. So sitting at home, they can give conference bag as well as conference food and the virtual conference feeling. This is what I'm thinking about to organize an ACP annual conference. By the way, I'm very happy. I forgot to welcome all the delegates and the members under the ACP India chapter. And also thanks to Persia Pharma for sponsoring. In fact, S.V. Kulkarni was the man behind this show. But at the outset, I forgot to mention, we must salute the COVID warriors, because all over the world, people are struggling, sacrifice their life. So it is an opportunity for us to salute the COVID warriors, encourage all the people who are working in COVID, whatever the help they want, I think we will have to help them, because they are fighting for us. They are really our warriors. Coming to the next topic is going to be evaluation and the evaluation strategies by the Sagar Singha. Before that, if there are any questions from the audience for Kulkarni, we can ask. Otherwise, we can keep the questions at the end.
we'll take at the end, because there is some going to be quite number of overlap in the
yeah, I think that will be better. So we will listen to Dr. Sagar Singha. Yeah, over to Sagar Singha for his presentation on evaluation strategies.
Great.
Kulkarni sir, can you just stop sharing? Yeah.
Yeah. Should I? Have I stopped sharing?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Sagar sir, please take over, sir. Sir.
Yeah, am I audible to everyone?
Yes, Sagar,
sir.
perfect.
All right, great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kulkarni sir, as usual, for giving me a chance. And I am a student of SVK sir since over 10 years now. And we have embarked on this journey almost 10 years ago. And in these tough times, even our unit at MGM, we are dealing with COVID patients regularly. I am going to try limit my talk specifically only to the applications of technology with respect to medicine, with COVID, with respect to only the technological applications. So yes. So something which we like to cover regarding any technology is basically we need to have 5 A's and 3 S. So the basic concept is it needs to be accessible, available, affordable. Everyone has a smartphone. We all use data and Wi-Fi. We have over 1 lakh apps on the store. We have over 1,000 devices. Most apps are free. And that technology has to be adaptable and applicable at that scenario. With scenarios, I like to call it the 3 S. Every site, whether it's the emergency room, whether it's the ICU, whether it's a ward or a clinic, at every step, at admission, during IPD stay, during discharge and follow-up, and possibly for every situation. So when we talk about a technology solution, it should probably have all the 5 A's and the 3 S. Now, regarding a specific technological intervention with COVID-19 remote consultation, so the only recommendation guideline is by the British Medical Journal, which they have released for practice for all GPs in the UK. And this is based on a version which is an older version. Older version when I'm meaning it's already over 2 weeks old. But here you have to understand how do you set it up. So when you have a patient, an audio call should be enough. But you may need to use a video when you have a severely ill patient, an anxious patient, a patient with comorbidities, and somebody who's hard of hearing. Hopefully, if you have the patient's records beforehand, see if the patient is a diabetic, pregnant, a smoker, a CKD, or any high-risk patient. Next, when you're connecting to the patient, like how we had a bit of hiccups in the start of the meeting, check our audio and video. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Very important to confirm the patient's identity. There's a classical way in India as well. You need to have for NABH, 2 ways to confirm the identity, whether it's the name or date of birth. Always inquire where the patient is right now. Take a note of the patient's number in case the connection fails. And if possible, ensure that the patient has some privacy. The patient could be in a room or you should be in a private room. Now, how do you start? Well, you do a rapid assessment, basically to see whether the patient is looking very sick or looking too breathless to talk. Then you directly move to clinical questions. If that isn't the case, then you establish whether the patient is called you for a consultation, for a referral, for a certificate, for a reassurance, or an advice on self-isolation. If you have some time, take a better history, close contacts, family members unwell, whether any occupational risk group, which would obviously be, say, healthcare workers. And then a classical medical history of current illness. And of course, then we ask the common symptoms, which is fever, cough, shortness of breath. Now comes a little difficult part. How are you going to examine the patient? So you have to assess physical and mental function as best you can. As best you can refers to we have a challenging situation, but as best you can. So ask the caregiver or the patient to talk about the state of breathing, describing the color of the face and lips. Over the video, look at the patient's general demeanor. Is he looking toxic? Is he looking stable? Look at the skin color. How do you do a virtual respiratory function assessment? So somebody who's not able to complete sentences, that means the patient is severely ill. Or the patient may be able to describe his breathing. Easier way is leading questions. Are you worse today than you were yesterday? And like a limitation of activity, we have our NYHA scales. But what is your breathlessness prevented you from doing? And when many patients who have, many of our elderly patients have their monitors at home. So if they can check a temperature, check their pulse. Some of them do have spirometers, check their peak flow pressures, blood pressure and oxygenation. And now these self-monitoring results, you have to interpret with caution and only in context of your assessment. Now comes the most important part, which is a decision and action. So what will you decide? So you have to take a call if a patient is having a temperature of more than 38 degrees Celsius, an elevated RR, a new heart rate, or a new onset confusion, or SpO2 less than 94%. Your main goal is to identify whether it's likely COVID or less likely COVID. If it is likely COVID with mild symptoms, we all know what to do. A deteriorating patient, maybe think of a follow-up, but somebody who's unwell and needs admissions, then obviously we need to right away move ahead. Also, you need to have a safety net. If someone is living alone, someone to check on them, and maintaining fluid intake, obviously. And you need to give the patients the medical help flag, the warning red flag signs, which could be severe breathlessness, difficulty, a pleuritic chest pain, a cold clammy skin, new confusion, not getting up on time, low output. So this is one of the ways a very simple telemedicine program can be run just using a WhatsApp video call, but there needs to be a particular protocol. Now the Ministry of Health has released guidelines, but this is one of a very simple primer documents which we can adapt to virtual OPDs for now. Now we come to now we come to two situations where we have a clinical problem and we need a simple method. Now a clinical problem is history. So how do? We want a symptom check and we need to do a risk assessment for COVID. Or you have a patient visit where you want to do an examination and you need to do a risk stratification whether my patient requires OPD treatment, IPD treatment, or ICU treatment. So I'm going to try answering these 4 questions with the help of technology. Now, this was one of the first few assessment toolkits which was launched. It is the Mayo Clinic toolkit, and they have an inbuilt algorithm. Now, all the institutes have been building all their forms, and there is no right or wrong answer. But if you don't want to use or create one of your own, you can access this link which I'm sharing. And if you have some time, I will demo this as well for all of you. So it's a self-assessment toolkit by the Mayo Clinic. And at the end of this algorithm, it gives you the odds that whether you are a COVID suspect or not. Of course, this has been adapted to the American data. This is something which I would like to definitely show you at the end of the presentation. This is an Indian company. You can just log in from your smartphone and they have an interactive algorithm. It says, I'm a DI bot, I'm not a doctor. And why are you doing this test? So I have entered, I am worried I was exposed to infection, gender selection, and then it will identify a couple of symptoms and then it will directly redirect you for further help, whether you are a likely COVID suspect or not. When it comes to a patient examination, like I said, there are 5 things we can do safely: temperature, pulse, blood pressure, a saturation. We need a thermometer. The infrared ones are also available now, a non-invasive BP apparatus, a pulse ox, or a spirometer. And of course, all of you are aware, on the left top, you can see these are those smart stethoscopes by IIT Bombay. In fact, we have showcased them at our recent conferences as well. You don't have to even be in the room with the patient. The stethoscope can be attached by the patient on his back or somebody else can do it. And you can sit in your chamber and hear the patient's heart sounds very well. You can also auscultate his chest completely from a digital scenario. And these modern pulse oximeters are available. You don't even need to buy one. And if you don't, you can always attach one to your smartphone. Now, something I need to emphasize here on the screen's right side is the hierarchy of controls. We want to have our healthcare providers safe. This is the reverse triangle recommended by the CDC. And as you can see, the last thing is the PPE. Okay, the easiest way is to eliminate the hazard. So how do you eliminate the hazard? You keep the patient at home, you are sitting away at home. So that is your remote consultation. Now, how can you substitute the hazard and how can you do any engineering controls? So this is where you use technology. You use your smart stethoscope, you use your smart pulse oximeter, and using these two controls, then you try to determine whether the patient truly is at risk of COVID or not. And if the patient is at risk, how is the best way to approach it? Remember, the PPE is the least effective, but I'm not saying it doesn't work, but what is most effective is using these hierarchy of controls to keep you safe and to keep the patient well monitored. Dr. Kulkarni had requested me to cover a bit of pulse oximetry. So I think all of us know that basic pulse oximetry works on the Beer's law, and pulse oximetry is a non-invasive method. The problem with pulse oximetry is that a low SpO2 does not mean there is hypoxemia, does not mean there has to be hypoxia. So what we are measuring, the SpO2, is unfortunately unreliable in situations like hypotension or shock, or in a patient who is having anemia or vasoconstriction. And when the saturation drops to less than 80, the accuracy of your pulse oximeter drops a lot. Now here, when you use an ABG, you of course an ABG measures the PO2, but again it estimates the SpO2. So if you really want a true gold standard reading, there is no substitute to an ABG by a co-oximeter, which measures the PO2 as accurately as an SpO2. So understanding the limitations of pulse oximetry, I'll move to the next slide. So there has been a lot of talk regarding our patients. We know the COVID patients are breathless, the COVID patients are hypoxic. We use that term very loosely. So hypoxemia is basically, from a physiology point of view, could be a VQ mismatch, there could be a shunt problem, low oxygen problem, there could be hypoventilation. Hypoxia is at a cellular level, where there is either a low SpO2 or a low PO2. There could be an anemia, anemic hypoxia because of a low hemoglobin, a circulatory hypoxia because of low flow, and there could be a histotoxic hypoxia. Is when we are going to be monitoring patients or risk stratifying patients, the pulse oximeter itself is not a very reliable term, because what we care about is oxygenation at the tissue level, which again, there are complex critical care terms. We have got DO2, which is delivery of oxygen, and there we've got something called as an oxygen extraction ratio. So just because a patient could be sitting with a saturation of 73% and being functional, that does not mean the patient is not hypoxic. Probably at the tissue level, the patient is compensating, and the patient is having a concept of what we call an oxygen deficit. And if the patient remains hypoxic for a long time, there is something called as an oxygen debt. You have overdrawn from your bank account, your credit card checks start bouncing. Up to a while it's fun, but now you're in serious trouble. So when we are looking at SpO2, we do not look at all of these things. This is where the SpO2 reading must be taken in caution. So how do we look at the SpO2 reading? We always have to look at the SpO2 reading in concordance with the FiO2 reading. Now we all know the FiO2 on room air is 21%, nasal cannula at best 30%, face mask at best 40%, and when you use the rebreather, it's about 60%. Whereas on the venti, you actually have the actual FiO2. Now, obviously, as intensivists, we should measure the PF ratio, but that is something which is not going to be possible at an OPD level. What can you measure? You can measure the SpO2 with your pulse oximeter, and you can estimate the FiO2. With this in mind, we look at, now what do I finally use? You know, we have spoken about oxygenation. So let's look at it. For oxygenation, what is tech heavy? We need the PO2 from the blood gas or the PF ratio. What is tech simple? You use the SpO2 from your pulse ox, or you use the SpO2 by FiO2 ratio. Now there is something which is called the ROX index, which has been studied for patients as a predictive marker that whether the patient is oxygenating well enough and whether the patient requires a ventilator or maybe even a non-invasive or an invasive ventilation. So how can we use the ROX index? There are a couple of calculation and formulas. Now we don't want to remember this, and this is where the app will come into play. When you have a work of breathing, tech heavy, we can calculate the energy requirement by the ventilator. A very simple thing, you ask your patient to do a single breath count, and a deterioration in the single breath count with worsening of the SF ratio or a worsening of the ROX index tells you that this patient is not responding to oxygen. This patient is likely going to require mechanical ventilation. Now, what about a pneumonia risk or a respiratory failure risk? Now, we have a lot of ICU complication complex numbers, but we have simple scoring systems like the CURB65. And the curve 65 measures confusion, a respiratory rate, the blood pressure, and age. Instead, use the app of the curve 65 without the urea part, and you will have an idea whether this patient is at a higher risk of requiring an inpatient care or ICU care. Now, whereas the patient is overall critical, we use ICU scores like SAPS, Apache, and SOFA. But why use that? Use something as simple as the QSOFA. The QSOFA is whether the patient has a GCS less than 15, an RR of greater than 22, or a hypotension of less than systolic less than 100. A QSOFA of higher than 2, that means the patient has a likely 10% increase in mortality. So immediately you know that using these 3 scores, use the ROX index for oxygenation, use the curve 65 for respiratory failure, and use the QSOFA score for the overall patient's criticality. Use these 3. But do we really want to remember these formulas? I hope not. So this is where the role of an app comes into play. We use something like Calculate by QXMD. These convert all these publications into a handheld tool. The whole idea is that you want to use a calculator to give you odds and a simple answer. And this calculator has been updated for COVID-19. It is a free app available. It has over 1 million downloads. And this is the specific. So in the app itself, they have a COVID-19 screening tool by the CDC. You have all these COVID specific tools and even a COVID-19 prognostication calculator. So all you need to do is download this app, enter the values from what we have learned here, the ROX index, the curve 65 and QSOFA, and use that as a risk stratification tool for determining the patient in front of you. Is he going to get worse? Is he going into respiratory failure? Is he going into an overall systemic failure? This is something which many of the ICUs look like today. We have all the possible technologies, and this is what it would require to save a COVID patient who is very ill. But there is hope for the future. You have devices where things like cardiac output can come on a smartphone. You have modern things like Google Glass, which didn't work so well. We have dynamic CPR formulas. All these things are being developed. There is already an app to estimate cardiac output with a smartphone. All you need to do is take a reading of the arterial waveform, and that can estimate the patient's cardiac output. There was a lovely article by Vincent, who's one of our textbook critical care authors, where he speculated that all these small noisy monitors, you'll just have one big screen and everything will be driven by technology. Gurunathan sir mentioned about one of the colleagues developing a smart AI algorithm. So Vincent said that there are no radiologists, that we have an X-ray taken and the interpretation comes immediately, and he describes radiologists. So this is what the critical care of the future is. Now you all think this might be inhuman, but here the future says that the original word of the doctor meant docere, that meant to teach, and of course being part of the patient. And here they were talking about large network-based medicine replacing this old evidence-based medicine. Now, this all may sound very futuristic, this all may sound very speculative, but we have remote ICU monitoring in India. 2014 it was launched. Since 2017, many sites are implementing it. 2017, ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, has been working with the ISCCM, developing apps and algorithms for medical error prevention. This is an example I want to end with. These are some of these modern technology cabins made very much in Mumbai by a startup, and they have positive pressure rooms. They have developed this as a fantastic solution. They have installed this outside Kasturba. And this is the concept of a modern clinic where what all I discussed, all these things can be put together. You have, and in fact, they're installing this as we speak. It is being installed tomorrow in Mumbai as the first prototype. You have HEPA filters, you have these glass glove panels with stethoscopes, with pulse oximeters, non-contact thermometers. The idea is you can triage the patient, take a call on admission, take a swab, even give a digital OPD prescription. The idea of this is very simple. It prevents risk of infection to the healthcare worker while providing best quality clinical care to the patient. And of course, in a country like ours, these are designed to be sturdy and weatherproof. And the idea of an overall solution, for example, is in the you need to have a hospital based to a community based care, high quality, evidence based, AI powered but human centric, and open source designs. So this is an example of a system which has got a horizontal integration, a vertical integration into one common solution. And I would like to end with, of course, this is probably what the Arogya Setu app could look like maybe a few months from now. And I always like to end with this slide, which is a man's reach should exceed his grasp. We have these technologies, we have the ECG t-shirts, we have these bio tattoos which can measure lab values. We have this mala here. This mala is a bioimpedance measurement which can measure cardiac output. This is a device which is by IIT Madras. So we actually have these technologies, but we need to understand how to apply them, especially in the times of COVID. And sir, if there is time at the end, only then I think I can show a demo, but I think we leave it at the end then, sir. Yeah, thank you. Kulkarni sir, I hand over to you again.
Dr. Kulkarni, please unmute your.
Please unmute. Thank you, Sagar. It was really wonderful. Dr. Muruganathan.
Yeah, Dr. Sagar Singha's presentation was very good. We are looking forward to your demonstration also. And the future, what you said, with mala, wristwatch, so everybody will have ornamental thing. Now people started using the mask also matching the color of sari, color mask. So similarly, there'll be ornaments like chains, the wristwatches, and whatnot. So that'll be the future. I think we will reserve questions at the end. Also, after everybody's questions are over, I request Dr. Sagar Singha to do the live demonstration. Now I request Dr. Suresh Sunde, what are the attachments which are possible with the laptops, mobile phone? Over to Dr. Suresh Sunde.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Dr. Kulkarni, please have my slides. We have already heard the two eminent speakers just now, and I have a small work to demonstrate to you certain gadgets which we are using in our day-to-day practice and how we are going to use it more safely during and after this COVID era. Dr. Kulkarni, please.
Yeah, Suresh, what you do is you start demonstrating. By the time I will
share the screen.
You can just show one gadget first. In the meantime, I will get my screen on, or just wait for a minute. Whether
no,
you can see your CV now.
Yes. No, we can't see.
एक मिनट just give a minute.
सर स्क्रीन शेयर शुरू नहीं हुआ है शायद.
So yeah,
have the look at it.
Sir, if you want, in the meanwhile, I can show the app while we are setting this up.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Right. So I will mirror my screen once more while we set up the other presentation. Can all of you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Visible.
Yeah, so now I'm going to demo this DIY health checker. So I'm going to refresh my page and here I go. So all of you can see, start. Yes, I accept the terms and conditions. So I will let somebody else answer this. Why am I doing this test? Someone can answer. Feeling sick. Okay, I'm feeling sick. Please select your gender, male. Do you feel very sick, little sick, not at all sick? Okay, a little sick. Are there any life-threatening symptoms like gasping for air, so breathless? So I'm going to now select, say, none of the above. Next. Then do you have anything else? Am I coughing up blood? Too weak to stand, the above. Next. Yeah, I feel a little ill, but I can do some of my usual activities. Are you breathing harder or faster? Yes. Please call your family doctor or telemedicine service. We need to ask you a few more questions. Yes. So this is the example of how an interactive algorithm could look like. Yeah.
Very lucid one. Great.
Okay, so I think we don't have the other presentation set up, so I'll demonstrate the others as well. So this is the app Calculate by QS. I hope all of you can see the app interface. Can everyone see this?
No problem.
Just share screen करताना कसं करायचं?
No problem.
Yeah. So here, for example, we want to look at whether a patient, we want to look at the ROX index, what I spoke about. So I click on the ROX index. I have to enter the SpO2. So I have a patient in front of me whose SpO2 says 92% and FiO2. So the patient say is on nasal prongs at 4 liters. I enter FiO2 of 30%. Next. And I put the respiratory rate. Suppose the patient's RR is 30 or say 34. Next. So the answer is given that the intubation risk is lower, and this patient we can still continue with the high flow nasal cannula. This is an example where we can use the ROX index. Now regarding the Curve 65 score. Pneumonia risk, the Curve 65. So I have a patient who is, say, patient is confused. Yes. The urea level we don't know. What is the respiratory rate? Say it's more than 30. Blood pressure is normal. Yes. What is the patient's age? More than 65. So the Curve 65 score is 4 and the estimated mortality is 42%. And this patient should be in the ICU. So just using the app right now, I have determined the patient's oxygenation status. Using this Curve 65, I have determined whether the patient needs to go to the ICU or not. I'll demonstrate the QSOFA. Now the patient is doing well or not. So is the patient having an altered mental status? Yes. Is the RR high? Yes. Is the blood pressure good? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is how we can use these apps and demonstrate. So sir, I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Yes,
I think
yes.
I'll give it back to you now.
Yes, I will share my screen now.
Great.
Dr. Shinde, is this possible?
हा तू करतोस का?
Yes, मी करतो.
कर मग.
Now you can see.
Yes, yes. Perfect,
Yes.
yes, sir.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
So just to introduce, Dr. Suresh Shinde is a senior physician from Pune. Very few people know that he's a wonderful writer. There are many new concepts about diabetes, medical education, teaching in clinical medicine. He has got many presentations at his credit, state, national and international level at ADA as well as EASD. And He is going to be one of the instrumental person for MapCon 2020 Pune. Over to you, Suresh.
Thank you, Dr. Kulkarni, for your nice introduction. Lockout Corona and lock-in technology. And in today's world, technology is indispensable. Next slide. So I am going to discuss very briefly and demonstrate to you some equipment that I have brought with me. The infrared thermometers that we are seeing every now and then now, stethoscopes, pulse oximeters, BP apparatus, various models, ECG sensor transmitters, hypoglycemia detectors, and various multipara units and non-invasive glucometers and other things. Next. The thermometers you will find in this slide, n number of thermometers, the original, the regular one, the one which is there in the left side, left upper corner. Then we have a rectal thermometer on the right upper hand corner. Then we have the regular one that is there, yes, the one that we see everybody's hand now. And this particular thing, the one that is the laser thermometer or infrared thermometer, can record 32 readings sequentially and can also keep in memory. So the person who is using it will have the advantage of either not examining many patients at a time without any delay, or one single person with all the trains is also possible. Next slide, please. The pulse oximeters already has been discussed in quite detail by Dr. Sinha. The pulse ox, the main point is the perfusion index. That means if the perfusion of the finger goes down, the pulse ox will not work properly. There are some pulse oximeters which will give you an audible alarm. Some pulse oximeters you can use overnight. Next slide, please. Then the smart weighing scales that we use in our clinics. These are the primitive ones, but most of our clinics we use the body composition analyzers, which are much bigger than this. But a small clinic can always use a personal weighing scale with an which is connected to the iPhone or the smartphone. Next slide, please. Now comes the stethoscope. Everybody has seen stethoscopes. This is the stethoscope. Kulkarni, let me see the.
Yes, you can show.
No, but I can't. People can't see me.
Okay, at the end of the things, can you show it? That will be better then.
Okay, okay. The smartphone, that is the Litmus smartphone that is shown in this picture, which I'll show you later on, which can record the heart sounds also with the Bluetooth technology. Next slide. Then this is a made in India or make in India stethoscope, which is very good. It is made by IIT people, cost around 10,000 rupees, and it has a small sort of gadget which can be attached to the regular stethoscope, and with that you can hear 16 times amplified sounds of the heartbeat. It can be recorded and transmitted by Bluetooth to any phone, or you can attach a small dongle to the phone, and while you are examining a patient, you can always see somebody is examining, you can see the phone distantly. Next slide, please. So it's a sort of telemedicine. The same stethoscope now also can be used in the COVID era. You can see this slide. On the left-hand side, you will find how the instrument can be used using a Wi-Fi. The person on the first person, that is the leftmost, is using it with both the things. He has a stethoscope which he is wearing inside the PPE and holding the stethoscope, the chest piece in his hands. So the chest piece is transmitting to his ears, as well as the chest piece is transmitting to the module inside, and that module is Wi-Fi transmitting outside also. So this is how you can use it without actually using your ears with the earphones. Or you can use in the next slide, that is a 3 and 4 also, you can use with an wired stethoscope. stethoscope compatible BP instruments. We have already seen many such instruments in practice in the market. Next slide. One of the best one that is marketed by Omron, and this is one which has no tubes, nothing, which I will also demonstrate to you at the end of the lecture. And it is Bluetooth compatible, costs around 20,000 rupees. Next slide. This is a 24-hour ambulatory BP monitor system, which is also available in India on Amazon, costs around 20,000 rupees. And with the help of this, with software, and with the help of this, you can monitor 24 hours blood pressure, and also could be used to monitor the COVID patients without, touching the patient. Next. This is a wireless otoscope, very reasonably priced, about $40, $30 in US. Also could be made available in India on Amazon. And with the use of this, you can, in the clinic, examine the ear of the patient and see if there is something wrong. The picture, that is the video, you can see on the smartphone or an iPad. Next slide, please. I will demonstrate to this again at the end. Then the Welch-Allyn ophthalmoscope, which most of us are using in our clinics, could be used with an iPhone attachment, because otherwise, if you want to buy a fundus camera, it will be costing about more than 3 lakh rupees. But this particular attachment, which can be attached to an iPhone, the ophthalmoscope and iPhone, doesn't cost much, about again $35 the attachment will work, you can get it. Next slide, please. AliveCor is a very popular instrument in America. You will find in the top picture, the small instrument is stuck on the iPhone, and then patient has to put two thumbs on that white squares, and then that will give you immediately, you can record the ECG. The same ECG is recorded for 30 seconds, and it can, in a PDF format, it can be emailed to your physician. This is how you can use a 6-channel recorder also with this, and it is an FDA cleared instrument. Next slide, please. Similar kind of thing is available for about 3,000 to 4,000 rupees in India. The same instrument, again, you have to attach one electrode to the chest and another finger, and it will give you an ECG recording. Next slide, please. Then this is a point of care ultrasound with a 2D echo probe compatible with the smartphone. Again, this technology is yet to come in our country. A lot of hassles are there in between. Next slide, please. This is another band which can be applied to wrist, and taking the advantage of cold sweat that person will get during hypoglycemia, or at the beginning of hypoglycemia, or myocardial infarction. So the humidity is sensed by this particular thing, and the iPhone, which is attached to this instrument wirelessly, will email or call or give an alarm immediately. So that is how a medical help can be called for immediately. Next slide, please. Then comes a glucometer attachment, again, very easily available in our country, and people and patients also can use it. Same glucometer can be attached to your mobile phone, either wirelessly or in a direct touch. Next slide, please. This is another technology that is a non-invasive hemoglobin. So it takes the advantage of the fact that whenever we look for anemia, we look at the conjunctiva of the patient. So the same way, this particular instrument looks at the conjunctiva of the patient, but with an electronic eye, which is connected to a smartphone and which is calibrated. So the redness of the conjunctiva will give you proportionately an answer to your hemoglobin, which is in that patient. Next slide. Very useful for epidemiological surveys. Then comes a very, very attractive and I would say state-of-the-art gadget, which is a fingertip gadget. Again, it looks like a pulse oximeter, but in fact, it is a multi-para instrument, multi-para monitor, you can say, which can give almost 15 parameters. Next slide, please. And these parameters are hemodynamics, that is pulse, continuous blood pressure, cardiac output, optical cardiogram, pulse wave, BP wave, then blood gases, PCO2, PO2, pH. Then it will also give you the hemoglobin, hematocrit, and few other parameters also. So this gives a great advantage to the patient. People are using even while they are running in the market, running on the in the morning. So even the patients can use this and show that by using a computer and internet to their physicians. So this is how telemedicine in future is going to come in the play, and at remotest place, I think they can get the important consultation advice from a very competent authority, even which is at miles away. Next slide, please. This is again marketed by the same Israeli company, and this gives you a sort of glucometer reading as well as the HbA1c. The glucometer reading has to be calibrated in the morning. Once it is calibrated, it can be used throughout the day to give you continuous blood sugar recording. Continuous as long as you are wearing this on your finger. Next slide, please. And this is another smart watch. The same multi-monitor parameters, 17 parameters, they have incorporated in a small watch. And this watch can be worn on the wrist, and again gives you all the body parameters and readings by a telemedicine facility to your physician who might be at miles away. Next slide. I think this is supposed to be the last slide. So, Dr. Kulkarni, if you will give the screen to me.
Yes. So, friends, thank you, Suresh. I will just allow you to share the video later on. I just want to summarize and wrap up the whole session. We have told you what we already know. Why do we need technology? How to use it? Sagar has very beautifully explained how, with the help of simple apps, you can recognize a potentially collapsing patient suffering from COVID or any other febrile illness. We have learned about apps and records and learning methodologies. In the facing COVID era, Sagar very beautifully told you what are the 5 A's and 3 S's. Suresh took you into the attachments, almost like a sci-fi movie, and glimpse into the future. And let us change from the next week. Let us start using the technology. And I welcome concluding remarks, comments, critical reviews from Dr. Muruganathan also, and from all the participants also. Thank you very much. Suresh, the video is open for you to demonstrate the things. I stop sharing the screen.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh Shinde. I mean, it was really very, very interesting. Amazing. With the watch, you do so many parameters. You can do ECG. You can do so many things. I think the future is going to be like that. But one more thing, the COVID has taught us many, very many good lessons, both old and new. What is old? Whatever our grannies used to say, you wash your hands, come to the house after your washing, hygienic methods, all that now it has come back by the COVID-19. Same way, the COVID-19 also in the other extreme have taught us the necessity is mother of invention. So when there is a necessity that we cannot go near the patient, we cannot touch the patient, all these things now lead to new inventions. So both the newer and the older has emerged now due to COVID times. The COVID has given COVID lifestyle modification. That also has given so many lessons. Regarding your demonstrations of stethoscope, all that is okay. How do we disinfect all this in COVID times? Suppose we have all this, is there any special method to disinfect? Because all the time we wear, and there must be some method to disinfect also. But through this, it should not get COVID infection. Is there any special disinfectants we can use for all these equipments?
Yes, they are already using the disinfectants in ICCUs.
Suresh?
Yes. And there are special type of covers also available for stethoscopes, which are usually supposed to be disposable, like gloves. But I think in our country, we keep on using the same thing with disinfectant, as you have rightly said.
Sir, we are
one
using,
patient.
yes, sir, basically, sir, for the disinfection in the ICU, sir, we are using hypochlorite for the regular equipment, and regarding these sensitive electronic equipment, even chlorhexidine or isopropyl alcohol is enough.
Dr. Shinde, can you show the
Yes.
practical demonstration?
Yes. So, friends, this is the stethoscope that you will see. This is the Littmann stethoscope, which is electronic stethoscope,
Okay.
which has this particular menu you will find. And same thing, this is one. This is the stethoscope that I was talking to you about, the Ayush or Ayu IIT people have created. This has a button here, and this shows you that data is being transmitted by Bluetooth. There are other controls also on this particular thing, and this can be either you can use it in the ears, or you can disconnect this and use as a wireless mode also. So this is another instrument that I wanted you to see. Then I wanted you to see this particular thing, that is the Alive cord. This is that ECG type of thing. I'll just show you how it is recording, just a small demonstration. This is how the app looks like, and this is how I will record. It is initializing. I hope you will be able to see. There is
It's quite well visible.
mistake. It was invisible.
Yeah, it's अच्छा दिख रहा है. Go ahead.
1 minute. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
There are some baseline things because of my hands are trembling, but otherwise it works very well. Then the third thing that I wanted to show you was this. This is an ophthalmoscope, pan-optic ophthalmoscope. There is a handle down, and one uses this routinely. And I have sort of converted that using our Indian things to attach iPhone. This thing is not very easily available in our country, so I have attached a GoPro camera to this. You will see that small GoPro camera is there. I will start the camera. Can you see?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
And now I will. You can see my face also inside.
Yes, sir.
So this is how you can. This is a mobile recorder, GoPro. Many people are using, and we are all aware about GoPro now. Then this is a small thing, a peak flow meter, a very small, elegant piece. Works on battery and gives you the same parameters that are available in a very costly instrument. This is also again available for about $50–60. Then comes the another thing. This machine, small machine, is nothing but an otoscope. Can you see this? This has a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
No wires attached. You just have to put it in the ear, and you can see the image of the eardrum. Beautiful image in the this on your this thing. You can also use this one, the old one, otoscope, again with lot of wires, but the resolution is much better. But then to see the throat, I have some other gadgets. See, this is another here. This is another LED, and you can use this to examine the throat from within. So this is not very flexible. The other one which I will show you, this is the flexible one. Again, you can move it any way that you want. And this is how it will work. See the light. And you can find that R, you can see inside the throat. There are small mirrors which come with this particular instrument with which you can go inside and watch the throat. The BP apparatus which I wanted to show you is like this. This is a small BP apparatus which has no tube and it fits snugly on the arms, and it can give you a reading. It takes 3 readings and can give you an average of 3 readings. I think these are all the things that I wanted to show you. Over to you, Dr. Kulkarni.
Thank you, Suresh. It is like a magician coming out with a big bag and showing all the equipments. Dr. Muruganathan, over to you, and we can invite questions, suggestions. Sanjay, you must have received quite a lot number of them.
Yes, there has been a flow right from the beginning. And number one, huge congratulations to all 4 magicians on this board. Dr. Suresh Chandra has really opened up the Pandora's box, wherein we have very innovative apparatus and the new things. Dr. Sinha was very apt in really elaborating on the technology front. And I think you have mastered this art now yourself and these guys putting together. I think this kind of workshops are required all across, and everybody would be looking forward. As someone of you said that the new normal is the usage of technology. The new normal is going digital. The new normal is having the sophisticated equipment to manage the patient and the practice. So the first question which has come 3-4 times was that, please let us know the telemedicine guidelines and how do we practice the telemedicine. So this was the question. If the person, doctor who has asked this question, he can ask. Otherwise, you can answer this question.
Sagar, can you answer?
Yes, sir. So now with telemedicine status in India, the Medical Council of India has released their platform. There also has been by the ministry. And however, 2 years back, there is a document of electronic health records. The challenge is that it is not a problem of telemedicine, it's a problem of proper record keeping and maintaining the patient's privacy. However, at this point in time, sir, how I gave an example in the very beginning, if you follow those simple steps correctly while doing a remote assessment, then you need to do telemedicine, but you need to apply the same safety principles and ethical principles to it. We will not finally know how this will play out in the court of law, but for now, the government is encouraging this, provided it is done safely.
Yeah, I would like to add. See, there are a lot of companies which are coming up with their platforms and with their apps. But the biggest situation is they need a lot of training. And unless a company is really with a lot of reputation and lot with... Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
They are like mushrooming small companies which will take you, charge you quite heavy, because I just had one dialogue, one demonstration with an organization today afternoon, and they said that on every transaction you made, you have to pay us 5%. It is too huge. And I think Dr. Muruganathan is the right person, either with the help of API, ICP or ECP, we should come out with some standard guidelines. Basic, we don't want anything complicated. Sagar will share an Excel sheet of one single page where you can pick up a complicated COVID within minutes. So rather than having all these complicated type of platforms, which require a lot of training, and some way or the other, our Indian mentality still is of a parcha written by the complex handwriting of the doctor, his signature, and the patient going out, walking out with the prescription in his hand. Some with the other. I think Dr. Muruganathan will be in a better position to tell because he has seen a bigger word than us. What do you think, Dr. Muruganathan? It will come to India in a big way, or it has got some problems?
No, it's not a problem. But to get the guidelines, it is not. Very difficult to get approval. We can say recommendations. Guidelines are a little different because it's always better to be safe, to be on the safe side for all litigation purpose and other purpose. It could be recommendations. The ACP recommendations can be there. So we'll 3-4 stalwarts can form, and then we can make the recommendations, and that we can circulate. So guidelines is as such, it's very difficult because especially in this COVID era, except ICMR, other organizations are not supposed to give any guidelines. Only recommendations we can give, or the facts we can show, not as a guideline.
Okay. Sanjay, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Harish Jumani is there. He is asking the question. Dr. Harish Jumani, please go ahead, sir. We are privileged to have you and all eminent doctors.
I just wanted to ask this question. In this technology wizard, where does the human touch goes, and what about empathy? Empathy is only on verbally on phone nowadays. In this COVID, we have been giving prescription, but this human touch is gone. So how do we replace this?
I agree to your concern about empathy, which is with the patient. And that's why if you go back to my presentation, and last but one slide was about my teacher who said that everything can be technical, but the empathy and clinical acumen has to come from the human side. So you have to combine both the things. You have to combine your clinical evaluation, your communication skills, how you talk to the patient, how you touch the patient, and the final part of a prescription and the instruments which are needed for evaluation will be from the technology side. So technology cannot overtake clinical medicine. It can assist, it can help. It is up to us how to use the technology.
Sir, yes, sir, please go ahead.
One note, sir. So a lot of patients get all right with our human touch only. They don't require medicine at the family physician level. So how do we do that, sir?
Very valid question, sir.
Dr. Muruganathan, can you answer?
Yeah, I can answer. You see, by risking our life, we cannot touch. Having known that the patient is going to be COVID positive or strongly suspected to have COVID, we cannot touch the patient. Even the guideline says somebody is going to die the cardiac arrest. First, before you do anything, wear PPE and then do the cardiac massage. So that is the guidelines. Otherwise, what will happen? We cannot be heroes just like that. Go there and do massage without proper equipment. You will die. And who will support us? So touch is important. But one more thing I must tell you, the COVID times has given the clinical examination and the clinical history very important, because those days when we say clinical history, nobody asked question history. Now everybody is asking history, from the watchman, from the nurse, from the receptionist. Did you have contact history? Did you have traveled anywhere? Anybody in your family has cough? In your street, who has got the COVID? So history taking is become now the order of the day. So we used to say clinical exam consists of history and clinical examination. Now history taking is very, very elaborate, and people have started taking history. Of course, clinical examination with the modern gadgets, we can do, but not risking our life. Knowing that we cannot jump from a train. We know that patient is COVID patient and the patient is dying cardiac arrest. If you don't have a PPE, you cannot venture. Even the flight, what they say, before you put the mask to your daughter, you put the mask first. So that is the principle now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sanjay.
Yeah, there have been a lot of comments for all of you, and especially Dr. Vasudev Mhatre says that excellent webinar. Dr. Sanjay sir has a very advanced instruments. I mean, so lot many compliments are coming. Dr. Shailendra wants to ask the question. Dr. Shailendra, please go ahead.
Shailendra, not audible.
No, just
Please go ahead. Ask the
just
question.
unmuting myself.
Yes, sir,
sir.
you
My
can.
question is, my question is that same instrument like BP instrument, ambulatory BP instrument, are available by different companies with a wide variation in their rate. One company is selling that in 20,000, another in 80,000. So how we can assure ourselves about the proper technology used in that instrument? Is there any standardization of the instrument by any authority in India or international authority? Just like our glucometer standardized by ADA, approved by ADA. So other instruments are approved or standardized by any other national or international authority?
Well, I think I will answer this question.
Yeah.
That everybody in this world wants to earn money. And
Yeah.
doctors, I think, are very soft targets. So one time a sale in life, so they would like to charge as much as they would like. But if we will inquire all over the world, competition is so high that you can get things at a very economical price, the same instrument, same technology, and it is up to us to compare with our own instruments to find out whether this instrument is worthy or not. I don't think that the instrument which is available for 20,000 rupees is anything less than the one which is available for 1 lakh rupees, except for the brand value and the service and other things. But I think when you are going to get a so much low cost, we are the people who are going to use, and we are the people who are going to standardize, because we know what are the gold standards. So compare against them. So no harm.
Can I
Sir,
answer to your
sir,
question?
yes, sir.
There are-
Chinese company kitna reliable hai? My specific question.
No.
How reliable are Chinese
I-
companies?
I will answer.
Kulkarni,
There are standard guidelines given by British Hypertension Society and American Hypertension Society, and they have listed the company's name and the models.
Okay.
So if you want to buy Omron, the Omron model which has been tested by British Hypertension Society, that is better to take it. And what
Okay.
Dr. Shinde told is there is a big gray market in the medical equipment company. So there are a lot of Chinese companies who will work only for few days and then after no repair is possible. So it is better to go to a mid-range organization which is giving you quality instruments. And as far as our Indian mentality is concerned, we want an instrument which is repairable or which is serviceable. This is a big problem, because majority of these equipment, they are like use and throw. If they don't, they are not working, there's no replacement is there. So just go to the British Hypertension Society guidelines and there's a big list of equipments which are available, and don't go for the Chinese cheap ones.
Sir, I'm just sharing, sir. There is a Registration of Medical Devices Act, which now the Indian government will be certifying whether the device, like the FDA or the CE. And sir, because of COVID, many of these technologies are being rapidly fast-tracked for approval. And this is the act.
Great, very informative and very apt.
Thank you for very informative answer by all of you.
Sir,
You know, Dr. Jayashree has one question. Dr. Jayashree, are you there, madam? Dr. Jayashree?
Can you unmute Dr. Kakrani? Is it
Okay.
possible, Dr. Vasant?
Yeah, please. I will do that, sir. I will do that.
Hello.
Yeah, Dr. Jayashree, boliye.
Yeah, I just want to know the telemedicine guidelines regarding in the aspect of medical legal issues.
Sagar.
Yes. So, ma'am, here I'll just mirror my screen once more, that the government has given these guidelines very clearly, but with regards to the full scope of the law, here they have said that if you are following all these things, the elements of telemedicine, using it in the right situation, identifying the patient, writing the patient consent and evaluation, and we have to maintain the ethics, the records, and the fees. So, ma'am, as long as we are doing this, this is available on the website, or you can send a link to us later. So they have been very clear that we can, as long as we are maintaining the ethics, the privacy, and the confidentiality, there isn't going to be a problem.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Sanjay, can you unmute Dr. Vasan Kumar from Hyderabad?
Okay, just a moment, sir. Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Vasan, please go ahead.
Dr. Kulkarni, what happened to Dr. Kakrani?
Dr. Kakrani, sir, your comments, please.
No, nothing actually. Whole day I am on some or other Zoom meeting or WebEx, Cisco WebEx, because our Hopkins trials go on Cisco WebEx. But this, I am member of the task force of government of Maharashtra, rest of Maharashtra did audits. So whole day, almost more days, more time spent on those meetings. By end of the day.
You have to protect your eyes and neck.
I know.
Eyes fine.
And once in a while, even my granddaughter using Google Meet, so I also join. So I'm using all sort of joining programs.
But really, I appreciate your presence and your encouragement, sir. You have made us very good clinicians. Sanjay,
yeah, yes,
Dr. Kakrani, Dr. Soltu, Dr. Thomas were our teachers.
Wow.
And where the only, even stethoscope also was not allowed to come down to the conclusion or to the diagnosis. Just by history and from examination, whatever observation you can come down, and that was the type of clinical teaching we had from here.
But I will agree that in this era, the human touch, even if it goes away, it is okay for some time. We should manage without human touch at this stage.
Yes.
I mean, there has been one debate 20 days back, and there was objection onto the terminology used by WHO, that is, you are distancing, social distancing. Then many of the doctors across the world, they said, use the physical distancing. Socially, you should be connected. Physically, you should not. I mean, that is what Dr. Kakrani is also suggesting. So rather than looking for the human touch, look for the preserving the human value by providing the timely treatment to the patients. And Dr. Shinde also spoke, I think, on the similar line. Sir, there is one question which is really hovering now and then. And the question is that what is the future of the practice at the town levels, at the city level? How should doctors start practicing now? And what are the precautions and steps to be taken? If any of you would like to please address this.
Suresh, please.
Yes. I think the basis of practice always remains as a communication and empathy, as somebody has said in the beginning itself, that empathy for the patient. So in the beginning of the practice, even we were not having so many patients, so we used to give a lot of attention to each and every patient, and the same attitude, I think, if one continues, I feel that one will become very successful in the practice, and one should be aware, he should be updated about his knowledge, and he should apply that knowledge to examining the patients. So that is how one will build his practice. I don't think the equipment and the other things will make a lot of difference, because all such things will always be available at cost by some diagnostic center or somebody else in the town. But what will not be available is the patient and doctor communication and the diagnosis. The diagnosis is very important. Application of human brain to the analysis of patients' complaints is the utmost important thing, which will be there anywhere. Be it a village, be it a town, be it a big metropolitan city. But obviously, telemedicine and other things might come to some extent, but I don't think it will make much difference for at least next 20 years.
Great. Thank you.
Dr. Samir
Sir,
I
Dr.
wanted to
Samir
speak.
is also on.
Hi,
Yeah.
Samir, go.
Yes.
Yeah, there are two questions. One, IMA has given a guideline saying that don't consider paid telemedicine to be on the safer side. This is a letter given by IMA. Even I feel there is no hindrance for a patient to come to the doctor as of now. If he has any illness or sickness, he can come. Showing reports, considering opinion on the reports, as long as it is not charged for medical legal issues will not become coming into play. But advising treatment on only seeing the patient telemedically, I think it is a big risk we are going to take. We can always call the patient to our clinic because he can come to the clinic. There is no hindrance for the patient to come.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
Because you might do
Dr.
harm to the
Udai
patient. Our basic principle is do no harm.
No harm by giving medicines.
Yes.
Sir, because female was advised medicines on telephone. Patient landed up with DVT and pulmonary embolization, died, and the doctor is facing the court case. Same thing can still happen even if whether it is a COVID situation or not, if we give telemedical advice.
No.
I think we should be very careful about giving advice. Consultation, if it is not charged, then it is fine. We can always tell our medicine to patients to take something and come to the hospital.
Even in telemedicine, government in the circular has clearly defined what areas are to be covered in telemedicine. Not everything is covered in telemedicine.
Yeah. If, for example, pregnancy checkup, for a pregnancy checkup, they have to come necessarily to the hospital. We cannot do teleconsultation in a pregnant for antenatal checkups.
So even a heart attack patient, if he complains of gas and abdominal pain and we give them antacids and he collapses and dies without an ECG, it will be a big risk.
Yeah. But you know, after the lockdown, every practitioner should take the necessary precaution and start seeing the patients. From the entrance inside the room, we must have the different prophylactic method, the entrance to the clinic chamber. And then we must start practicing, and we must also ask good history, whether they are coming from the containment area, whether they are coming from the hospital, whether anybody in the family has got contacts. All those things you have to find out, and then only ask them to come in. In spite of all that, if you are getting, then it's better to protect yourself and then approach the patient that way. This will be your approach for another 3 to 6 months.
Great, great. Questions are still pouring in. Dr. Uday Lal wanted to ask the question. And I'm sure it's a very
I saw Vasant was sitting. Vasant?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Dr.
Vasant,
Murugan, thank you. You have coordinated a very nice program. All the three speakers have done a good job. A lot of exposure about the gadgets that are available using the technology for various medicine is good. So I'm very happy to be a participant in this. The last question posed by one of our doctors about his apprehensions about online consultation, I understand, yes. But there are certain areas which are very clearly demarcated where you can do some kind of online preliminary consultation, which helps the patient always. You can charge according to Government of India, you can charge, but you need to follow certain guidelines. For example, you are treating diabetes, you are sometimes trying to adjust the dose of insulin or medication, or looking at somebody's foot with cellulitis, you want to start some medicine initially, because patient anyway cannot come to you. So in these situations, our very old patients in the geriatric department, and things like that, we need to use the technology and sometimes, but we need to be very careful. I understand your concerns about it, but you cannot rule out that in today's scenario. So we need to use it. Probably in future, we need to use it more, because people have got gadgets, they check the blood sugar, they check the blood pressure, but it's not for every condition. I just wanted, and I want to thank all of you.
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Vasant, Dr. Muruganathan sir and Shinde sir and all, I always came across with one worry now, because people are at home lockdown. and even if lockdown opens, it's not going to be the normal. For the getting to normal, we may take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. What about the patients who are at home and their blood glucose is going up because exercise is not happening? The food is also homemade food is there. The weight is increasing. The stress level is also bursting. What do you say for this kind of patient, and how should a practicing diabetologist or physician should look at this situation?
I think this is really the examination time of how the healthcare delivery has been delivered to the patient before COVID time. Because if you have already educated your patient, if your patient can do his blood sugars, if he knows his disease well, then I don't think there will be any problem. But for people who are not well aware about their own disease condition, I think it's going to be a problem for them. And there are going to be some mishappenings here and there. But people who are educated, I think they will not have much problem.
In fact, I've written to all our members, during the lockdown, the home blood pressure monitoring should be, because many patients, they discontinue medicines because they don't go out to buy the medicines. Number two, because of the anxiety and stress, his BP level is going up. And what was controlled now is not under control. So I wrote to every one of our members, please, when you talk to them in the telephone or WhatsApp, ask them to procure the home blood pressure monitor or home blood sugar monitor. Because as you rightly said, no exercise, good food, sleep, TV, like that. So you will put on weight, your BP will go up, and BP, the signs of high blood pressure may not be there. So they don't care. So they will land up in high blood pressure. That's why I call that as lockdown. And home blood pressure monitoring is a must for them. And their blood pressure, normally what is under control, may not be under control because of these things. And the exercise part of it, the people cannot come out and do exercise. Many people, if you say to go to terrace, they may not have terrace also. So they take it easy, watch TV and then sleep. So I think what you say is right. But after lockdown also, we must take some precautions, and we must tell the patients definitely you are allowed to titrate the dose for diabetes as well as hypertension and comorbidities. Otherwise, patients may not die of COVID, patients may die of comorbidities.
Okay, thank you, doctor. That was very elaborate. I think if the questions are over, we can wind up.
Yes.
My colleague from Pune, Mr. Suhas Pandey, wanted to.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. First of all, thanks all the speakers for the wonderful elaboration on the subject, and all new technologies are coming in this COVID-19 era. I just want to ask one question. As a patient, particularly if I am a patient, I have doctors are sitting over there. In our childhood, it was the concept of family doctors. Clinical diagnosis was given utmost importance. Then it came an era of all sort of various tests, and now all the modern equipments. So it is not only social distancing, but it is the distancing between doctors and patient is increasing. And one important question, that in such situation, how affordable the treatment will be in India for the Indian patients? Will the patients will be affording this treatment? Because it will be adding to the cost.
I think the cost of treatment and the cost of doctor, I think there is a lot of difference. The patient pays a very small fees to doctors, but he spends a lot of money on his day-to-day drugs. I find that if he is spending some very small little thing for my consultation, he spends a lot of things on investigations, or still more things on his drugs. So as far as affording doctor's fees are concerned, I don't think there will be any problem. But as far as other expenses are concerned, there is going to be a problem.
Like purchasing, everybody has to purchase now the
Yes.
BP monitoring machine, the glucometer, and all other equipment patient has to keep at home. because he cannot every time go and visit doctors. And as you rightly said, so that education, patient education in this condition is very, very important. And one more thing, that at city levels like Pune and Mumbai, Nagpur, it's very much possible because the patients are educated and they are well aware of various gadgets and everything. But in town, up-country levels, what will be the situation? As you see, many doctors are sitting in a small place, they have their OPDs, and patients are sitting in a crowded place. So, for such doctors, what will the status of the practice, and how the patients will get the service in this condition?
Sir, I'll just add here that I think technology historically has always shown us it improves productivity and it always turns out to be cost effective. So if you have that initial investment, even for the doctor, it's going to be cost effective years from now. Even for the patient, say buying a BP apparatus, that act of buying that device worth 1,000 rupees and the act of prolonging his life by 1,000 days. So I think cost effectiveness has to be measured in terms of productivity and quality of life improved. And technology always wins there.
In fact, you know, when the mobile phones came, the mobile phones were very costly. Nobody can afford to buy mobile phones. Now, even the vegetable vendor has got a mobile phone. So when people started using, you know, gadgets, definitely it will come cheaper. You see,
economy scale is down.
No, the volume, for example, home blood pressure monitoring, what it costs 1,500 rupees. If you order for 1 lakh home blood pressure monitor, it will come to 500 rupees. See, the mobile phones you get by 500 rupees. So when the technology comes, people will get used to it. So I don't think it is a big problem. And another thing, if you have home blood pressure monitoring and you check the pressure, it saves your consultation. You need not go to the doctor. The transport, your time, everything is saved. And now there is one device called telemonitoring. Your home BP monitor can be hooked onto your hospital, and the hospital nurse can watch your BP and can advise the patient, your BP is going up, please come for checkup. So I think in the future, when the technology is developed, definitely the cost will come down. And somebody asked the question, the instruments are becoming more costly. We should have a control. For example, now the infrared thermometer, which we want now, what was costing 1,000 rupees, people are charging 8,000 rupees, and they don't give bill. There is no guarantee. So for all these things, we must have a control, and we must have a from the government. There must be some force. Another thing, the quality also we must have some control. And Dr. Kulkarni was mentioning the good instrument. You can go to BHS, British Hypertension Society. They'll give you the guidance. We should not go to British Hypertension Society. We must go to Indian Hypertension Society or Hypertension Society of India, where we have to recommend. So we must take proactively all those things. We should not depend on other countries. Now that we know Western countries and Americans are not far better than our country for the medical system. Absolutely. So we take the upper hand. This is the time we must say, yes. We must come out and say, we have got a huge customers. So we will definitely have the upper hand, control the price, control the quality, and also make it very cheaper. I think, you know, in a few months, this will be the thing, and India will rule the health sector. This is my ambition, this is my dream, and my prayer.
That is Make it India.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the doctors.
This was quite awesome. The master stroke by Dr. Muruganathan at the end. I must say that it was extraordinary. We had an allocated time of 1 hour, but this is 1 hour and 50 minutes, and still everybody is so enthusiastic, want to listen, want to ask the question. But we can't go on and on because everyone has the next schedule to catch. But I'm indebted to everyone.
No. Yeah, please. No, please don't say. We are highly technologically, you know, serving. So if anybody wants to ask questions, till midnight also they can ask questions. Tomorrow morning we can answer. So there is no problem about asking questions. Don't worry about that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, we are available technologically. We can send email. We can send answers to them also.
Yes.
So collect the questions, give it to us. Definitely we will answer the questions.
Surely.
Vinod, please.
Can I have a 1 minute, sir? Because there is a one small.
Before.
Yes, sir. I will just connect once again, sir. Sir, there is a one beautiful conference is going to come. IDEC, International Diabetes Expert Conclave, on 9th and 10th at Pune, which is taken a digital platform now, which is going to be the digital webinar. And the registration is very much free, sir. So we at Prasya, we ask all the doctors, eminent doctors who is present here, to just log in, register themselves. They will get the link and password to join this international conclave where Dr. DiFranco and other similar types of doctors is coming in this platform. I request to please participate in that. With that, sir, I thought that this is the right platform to share the news and information, sir. Thank you very much from my side, sir. I really appreciate all the participants' presence as well as the experts and panels also. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Vinod. You can stop the screen share so we can.
So before, so we'll conclude by saying, even though lockdown is over, we'll continue the good habits of hygiene, hand hygiene, washing hands, cleaning the surface, cough etiquette, physical distancing will continue for lifelong, because these good habits should be continued. And whatever good lessons we learn from COVID, we must follow it up. And I think we will be optimistic, and with all our support, we will win the battle and we'll come out of the corona-free world. Thank you very much.
Kulkarni, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for participation. And for SWAS, I want to recall an event when the computers were introduced in banks. There was a bank strike stating that the number of
employment
people will be less in the bank. So that was long time back. So technology is adapted to the to the mankind, and it is going to give a better and better results. Imagine when we and Muruganathan and Dr. Suresh Shinde were there in our college, there were only 2 cars, Ambassador and Fiat. Now we have got 100 different models.
Yeah.
So just consider that, and as you go on increasing the use, the cost comes down. So
I'm
you
your
really
friend,
want.
Vinod.
Sir.
I'm the friend of Dr. S.V. Kulkarni. I never knew he has so many cars of so many models.
Yes.
So thank you for telling. Let me borrow few from you. And lastly, I want to say one thing. In all these webinars or any support required as a corporation, Prasya is completely committed to that. Please feel free whenever we can give your smallest help. Dr. Sagar, Dr. Muruganathan, Dr. Shinde, Dr. Kulkarni, everyone. I mean, it's great pleasure always to associate with such a greats which are there today on the panel. And I once again express my sincere gratitude for this extraordinary symposium. Thank you very much for everyone.
Thank
Thank you, Shinde, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Dr. Muruganathan,
Thank you
sir.
all.